I talk about 5 pillars of manifestation, and I'm going to give you actionable exercises that you can do to incorporate them into your practices and into your life, right? You don't have to do all of them. Take what works and leave the rest. So I don't often talk about manifestation on its own because I think that just focusing on that can really cut out the part where we actually take action on our goals and our dreams and our desires and everything that we want, right? We do live in an infinitely abundant universe, but we need to align ourselves to what is possible. So sticking a picture of a Ferrari on your fridge and forgetting about it and not doing any of your own work is not really going to cut it. Okay. So I like to look at it in the context of goals and manifestation because they work really well together, right? We have the action that we're taking, we're setting the sights on the goals, we're moving towards them, but we're also getting our energy on board so that it comes together for us. Okay. So the first pillar is clarity. Clarity about what it is that you want. So the more clear that you are about what it is that you want, the more you'll be able to make choices that are in alignment with that and to not entertain things that are not it, right? This is especially true, like a good example is for partnerships. So if you are looking for a relationship and you go out with someone who is not looking for a relationship, then you are giving your energy and your time and your resources, because those things are resources, to something that is not actually what you want, right? So you're able to have that clarity and that discernment to be like, well, this actually isn't going to be what I want it to be. So I'm not going to spend my energy on that, to keep myself energetically open for something that is aligned, for something that is what I want. The second part of that is, you don't call a pizza shop and say, can you send me a pizza? Or you don't go to a coffee shop and say, just give me a coffee, right? We all have our like soy, vanilla, half strength, like extra froth, like whatever. Like we all have these like extremely long coffee orders or like pizza or whatever it is. And so we need to have that same kind of clarity for what it is that we are looking for. Because you might have experienced this where like perhaps you are trying to manifest maybe more money or more abundance, something like that, or maybe a new job. And a job opportunity might arrive, but it's not the one that you want because you haven't been clear about what it is. Or if you're trying to manifest money, money might come in, but it might not be in the way that you expected. And I think when it comes to receiving, certainly, we're going to talk about receiving at the end, but certainly be open to receiving from any and all sources, right? Because sometimes we get very stuck in how it should look like where that money is going to come from, whatever it is. But that's not always the case. So when we're completely open to receiving what it is that we want, then just treating it as a universal exchange and a universal currency, even if it's not what you expected, because at the end of the day, you still get the however much money, like 50 grand, right? You thought that you were going to do like a 50 grand launch, but then like something else happens and somehow 50 grand comes into your life. That kind of stuff happens all the time. So an exercise to help you get clarity on what you want is firstly journaling, being really specific. If it is partnership that you're calling in, getting really specific about the qualities that you're looking for, what is non-negotiable, what is desirable, so that you can have that picture. Okay. A second one is to do future self journaling. So you might have heard about this before. It's where you journal as if you're your future self, having already received all of the things that you're working towards. So it would be perhaps you in 1 year's time, 5 years' time, and be like, I've just woken up and all of these things are in my life. I'm in like a loving relationship. I'm in a beautiful home. Like I love my job. I love my career. I've built my business, whatever it is for you, and be specific. And the more you do that, things might shift and change over time. And, if you have like a list about partnership, then definitely review it from time to time, because our values change and what we want changes. So, if you're clear about it in one sense and then you don't update it, then you might get the thing that doesn't resonate with you anymore. The second, and this is a big one, is our energy. So there's a few different parts of this. So is your energy tense and contracted? Are you like, oh, or is it abundant and overflowing? Are you regularly tuning into the frequency of what it is that you want? Do you have gratitude for what it is that you already have? Because being contracted, not, thinking that what we want is out of reach for us, which we're going to talk about in the next one as well, it keeps us here, right? We're not really fully open energetically to getting what it is that we want. The same with gratitude. Like, if you're not grateful for what you have, then why would the universe give you more? And the two practices that I like to use, hi Josh, that I like to use for this, number one is visualization. So I've got a meditation up on Insight Timer that is visualizing your dream career or your dream business, which is really, really powerful because it really builds out that picture, much like the future self journaling. Hi Diana, it really builds out that picture of what it is that you want your life to look like, which helps with the clarity as well. But another practice that I like to do for gratitude is in the evening when I'm like locking up my home before I go to bed, like making sure the windows are shut, all the things, I take a moment to be really grateful for my home. And because my home is my nest, my moon is in Cancer, it is everything to me. And to really, really let that sink in, that I get to live here, that I get to be here, and that I've created this space, and that I love the way that I've decorated and all of the things, and my beautiful fur child, and to let it sink in and to really receive that energy of gratitude, which also helps you to feel abundant because you feel all of these, like, I'm so lucky that I've got all of these things. So that's the second one. Number three is, oh, you have a Cancer moon as well. That is a ride, isn't it? People with Cancer moon, like, our home is our sanctuary. And just for anyone else with like Cancer, like sun, moon, rising, or sun, moon, rising, is nothing will be more upsetting to us or triggering than like people showing up uninvited or people like somehow disrespecting you in your home. And I was reflecting on this the other day. But I won't go into that tangent. But yeah, home is super important for people with strong Cancer placements. Because it's the crab and it like lives in its shell, which is its home. So the third one is mindset. So do you actually believe that everything that you want is possible for you? Or are you like, something that we really can get sucked into is believing that it's possible for everyone else and that it looks easy for everyone else and that it's just not available to us? Or maybe you're like, yeah, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, like whatever. Because you actually need to believe that it's at least 85% possible, because otherwise you won't take action on it. And if you don't believe that it's at least 85% possible, like, what's a smaller dream that you can work towards so that you can start to see what is possible for you? So like maybe the like wild, outlandish goal is to have like God, I can't even think of anything right now. A while, because for me, I'm like, well, anything is possible. You can just do it. But like, maybe it would be to like move to a different country, which can have some logistical issues, right? Maybe it's to move to a different country and to live there. And you're like, oh, maybe not. I don't know. What is a smaller goal? Like maybe you could maybe move interstate, but also like maybe you could see what all of the steps are that you would need to take to do that and start to do them so that then the like dominoes start to fall into place, into alignment for you. Or even like manifest a car park, right? This is a question that I get all the time. Like, why is it so easy to like manifest a car park? But then when it's actually the things that I want and the things that I care about, it doesn't show up. Or like sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It's like hit or miss. That is because we're not attached to the car park, right? Like we know that if we don't get the car park, then like if we don't manifest the perfect car park, that we'll just drive around, we'll eventually find it, it'll eventually come, or we'll park a little bit further away and have to walk, right? But it's not, there is no emotional connection or excuse me, emotional attachment to that, which is why it's so easy. But if you're not someone that has practiced manifesting car parks, highly recommend doing that. Because for me, finding like anytime I have to go anywhere, the thought of finding a car park stresses me out. And then I just remind myself that no, I can manifest a car park, like easy, easy. And I actually can't remember the last time that I had issues finding one. Another thing about mindset is like, do you believe that the universe is abundant or do you cling on to scarcity? So do you think that you're like, okay, I have to get all of this and then I have to hold on to it and I have to hoard it. And also everyone else that is abundant is stingy and, you know, no one's sharing, no one's circulating. Because what we believe is what will show up because our brain is wired to confirm our beliefs, which is problematic in a lot of ways. So why not believe in the endless possibility and the endless generosity and the endless abundance, right? And once you start to believe that, then your brain will find confirming evidence for that. So my exercise for this, for you, is to regularly check in with what I call your mental radio. What station is it playing? What messages and programming have you received about your access to unlimited potential, or about why you can or why you cannot have something and why you can or why you cannot have what you want to have? So one aspect of that is when we find ourselves in that like bah humbug, like grumbly, and I'm not going to pretend that I don't do this as well sometimes, is that like, you know, that the scarcity, there's not enough, like all of the things, there's not enough this, there's not enough that. Just noticing when you're tuning into that and be like, okay, hold up. Is this actually true? Right? Or is my brain just telling stories, right? Because you can never know, right? So say maybe you wanted a job, you went for a promotion, you didn't get the promotion, and so you're like, fuck all these people. I'm too good for this organization. And so you don't get the promotion, and then maybe that makes you look for another job outside of the organization. And then you get like the perfect job with like a better boss and more money that's closer to home and all of the things, right? So you that kind of disproves the thought that like that better things aren't available to you. It's just that the one thing that you were going for, the promotion, was not the thing because there was something better that was coming your way. And I love the saying, well, I was going to say, if it doesn't open, it's not your door, firstly, but also the saying of like, you know, if it doesn't open, it's not your door, and there's a bigger, better, shinier, more suited door for you. And this applies to everything. This is what I really live my life by. But then also on the topic of like messaging and programming, so why, if you believe that something's not possible for you, just go back to why you believe, where you first bought into that belief, where you first picked up that belief. And something that happens to many of us when we have siblings or, you know, many different like circumstances is that maybe your sibling gets the Christmas present that you want and you don't get it. And so they're all like stoked that they've got this awesome thing, and then you get something that is not as good or that you didn't want, right? And you're a little kid and you're, you know, it's okay to be disappointed, but we're also not really allowed to express that disappointment at the time. I mean, I don't know what parenting's like now, but certainly if you're of my generation, right, we stuff that down and then we just have this belief that we can't have what we want, or that if we ask for what we want, that we won't get it, that someone else will get it. Again, that it's available to everyone else. Everyone else gets the thing. I don't get the thing. I miss out. Sometimes that can be experiences with, you know, like competitions as well. When you're a child, a lot of that stuff comes up with clients where it's like, you had this experience where you worked really hard for something and you got passed over for some reason. And that leaves an imprint on you, especially when you don't fully process it, because a lot of the things that you might have heard from adults is like, oh, well, like next time doesn't matter, you know, trying to cheer you up, but really it doesn't let you really feel into that. So that's why that can have such a profound impact on our belief as to whether or not we can get what we want, whether or not we can achieve things, whether or not we can really step into the life that we want to step into. Okay. So checking that mental radio, right? And questioning what beliefs it is blasting. It's blasting out there. So the fourth one is aligned and inspired action. So these two are slightly different. So aligned action is, what can you do today to move you closer to what it is that you are calling in? Maybe it is something external, like getting in touch with someone, you know, sharing your work, posting a video, or it could be internal work like the journaling and the visualization that I've already mentioned. So don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself to be in action every single day. But obviously, the more you are in action, you know, the more you're looking for opportunities, the more you're connecting with people, the more you are putting yourself out there, the quicker you are going to get there. And because that's also like you're showing up for what it is that you want. And I find that the energetics start to fall into alignment with that as well. And then inspired action is about taking action when those nudges drop in. And a good example of this is I had a friend who she has her own business, but she was feeling a little bit meh about it and was about to go on holiday, just needed to like recalibrate, regroup. Like anyone that has a business, I think you can relate. And she wasn't even looking for a job, but somehow it like came into her awareness like a job opportunity. And she applied for this job and she got this job, and it is like so aligned, and it is also like kind of liberated her from the chains of her business because she was feeling really stuck in it. So it's given her like this new lease on life. So she took inspired action because she was like, oh, this job actually looks really cool, even though I'm not looking for a job. And then she just, you know, that has moved her into a better place. And sometimes we can be like, oh no, well that's silly, like I don't know if I want another job, or I don't know if, but like those, and I experienced this as well, those things they seem wild, they seem random, they come from like absolutely nowhere. That's when I know that I need to act on them. And it's not to say those things don't always work out in the way that you think that they will, right? So like, you know, you get this inspired little nudge to apply for this job or like contact someone, reach out to someone, like whatever it is. And you're like, oh, this is an inspired divine download. Like it must be meant to be. Well, in some sense, something from your experience is going to be what you need, whether it is that you ultimately get the job. But just the reason I'm saying this is to like be aware of your expectations, because if you do that and you don't get the job and you're like, oh, well, what was that all about? There is something in there for you to extract, to take forward, right? Just as with every one of our experiences. And then the final one, this is like the biggest one, is receiving. And this really comes down to our worthiness to receive. So most, if not all of us, have some kind of self-worth stuff to clear up. And this comes from a lot of the messaging, a lot of the programming, a lot of the conditioning of things that we experience over time, like what I mentioned before about, when sometimes we don't get what we want as kids, and what we're taught about that, and how we internalize that, and how we take that on as meaning that we are not worth what we want, that we are not worth having the things that we want to have, or buying into the belief that in order to be loved and to be worthy, that we have to like massively overgive to other people, because on our own we are not inherently worthy of our desires and of what we want. So think about the last time that someone offered to do something for you. The easiest example I can think of for this is like if someone offers to maybe pay for something for you and you're like, no, 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 no. Or if they offer to like take you somewhere, like drop you off somewhere, like give you a lift, or like pick you up from the airport, or even just like carry something for you. And all the ways that we're like, no, 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 no. The ways that we don't allow ourselves to receive. So as you think about that, does that resonate? Does that land? Can you think about you being like, no, 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 no. Like my neighbor offered to buy me a coffee because he was making a massive racket with some renovations, and he offered to buy me a coffee. And I was like, oh no, it's all good. Like, don't worry about it. And so where does that come up? And sometimes those things will be circumstantial. So you might be open to receiving in certain ways, maybe from certain people, but in other ways you might be closed off, right? So asking yourself, how can you open yourself up? So when someone offers to do something, just say, yeah, thanks, that would be great. And we also, like, even if someone like shouts us lunch, even if we don't have that debate or that conversation, like we feel like we owe them, we feel like we have to pay them back, we feel like we can't just accept it. So we don't want to be stingy, but because it is about circulating, right? So in that kind of situation, like pay it forward, and get down. So see if you can pay it forward. But a practice for that, well, firstly, is to allow yourself to receive. And I find this so often is that we really, my cat's being very distracting and destructive. Is when there's a little paw, is when we offer things to people, they do not accept it. And the more that you can become someone that just accepts and just receives, then the more people will accept and receive as you are as well. So that's a practice receiving, but also practice just allowing yourself to tune into and enjoy all of the pleasure and all of the beauty around us. It's very easy to like put the blinkers on and like focus on our problems. This is also to do with energetics. But when you can think about everything that you are receiving right now, the nourishing, life-giving oxygen that you are breathing into your lungs that is keeping you alive, that is a gift. The simple things, right? receiving that and really allowing that in. Nourishing food, all of the things. So I would love to know which one of those resonate. Diana says, yes. So definitely resonated with you that being compared to siblings. Yeah, that comes up a lot. There's a lot of stuff, like, for family dynamics are just such a fertile soil for finding the roots of these things. But once we do, then we can start to unhook them and untangle them. Anyway, so I would love to know which one resonated with you and what practices you're going to take on. But also, I'm doing the Goals and Manifestation workshop tomorrow. The link to that is in my bio or somewhere else. So check that out, because we are going to be aligning the two together to really help you and to support you to go for it, whatever it is that you want, whether it is like a very like concrete goal, like a promotion or a job or a business, or even if it's just like creating a new life. So that's it from me. My voice is starting to go from the air conditioning. I'm sending you guys so much love. I will see you next time.